Hello gamers, and welcome to a preview of Meeple Inc. Welcome back to the Board Game Code channel. I'm Professor Meg, and this is a preview of Meeple Inc. Huge thank you to Cogito Ergo Meeple for sponsoring this video. Their project is now live on GameFound, so you can find the link down below, but this is a campaign that is currently on GameFound. I am here to walk you through the game and tell you a little bit more about it, but just a reminder, this is a sponsored preview and this is a prototype copy. Something else to keep in mind is there is a normal version and a deluxe version for this game, and this is with all of the deluxe components that are intended for the game. So please keep that in mind as well. There's this adorable little miniature calyx shelf, and it is this wooden 3D one. There is one that you build out of cardboard instead, but there are differences like that. The best way that you can see the differences is to check out the campaign, so just follow the link down below and you can see everything about that. Now let's get into how the game plays. Meeple Inc. is a worker placement game for 1 to 6 players where you are trying to make the best board game possible. You're trying to upgrade your different components and use that to make a great board game, and then either create it and put it here on the calyx shelf or sell it for different victory points. Now you're doing this by hiring different specialists, and all of your resources are different things that you would imagine would go into creating a board game, such as inspiration, time, play testing, research, and of course, money. Something that is also very cute for this game is there are these 3D boxes that you are using where you are taking the different components that you make, placing them inside of the box, and then using that to place on top of the calyx for scoring. So the components are definitely top-notch in this game, but let's go over some of the mechanics. When you look at Meeple Inc., you're going to see that there are a ton of great components. The boxes are adorable. There are different workers that you have available to you that are either acrylic or cardboard, but it is going to be a very confusing worker placement board at the beginning. Until you start to put it all together, you're going to be overwhelmed with all of the different choices that you're trying to do, but basically what you're trying to do is take different components, exchange them for better things, which will then create a board game for you. But don't worry, because if you can't get the best pieces possible, you can also upgrade them as well before you then turn them into your board game. The clock for this game is going to be this time track, which is counting down depending on the number of players, and something that's very interesting is it will move down whenever you recall your workers. So points will be scored up with these little tokens, but this time tracker will also be counting down for you, and whenever you go over these little bubbles, it can be strategic for you to either take your meeples back a turn ahead, or try to wait until longer because you're hoping someone else will take their workers back to give you this extra action. Now, before we get into the different worker placement spots in Meeple Inc., we're going to talk a little bit about your player board and what's in front of you, because each player starts with their own game company and you have your own table in front of you, and you're either going to have a beginning card for your first game or you're going to have a POW and WOW card. Now your POW cards are going to be different employees that are sitting there helping you. Sorry, your WOW cards are going to be different employees sitting there helping you. Your POW cards are going to hurt you, but you are able to get rid of them. Now you'll be bringing in any other employees that you hired to come sit at your table. So first you'll have to acquire them, and then you'll use an action to play them, to have them sit at your table and be able to help you along the game. That way you can kind of see thematically that you have everyone sitting around working together on these board games. So as I said, you can see here, this is GMON games, and they have this POW card, which is negative to them, but they also have a WOW card. Now, something that you need to do in this game is you'll be acquiring these more common resources and then turning them into these. It's both components and mechanisms for your game, and when you do that, you will need to be able to have a certain level that you're able to make those, as well as your box level. So you can see that your starting person gives you one of each. There's a mechanism, a box, and a component stamp on them, and as you gather these other people to come and help you, they will give you components, boxes, components respectively, depending on what their card does. Now in your first game, you will start with your corporation person, so instead for this Asmodeus games, they would start here giving them one symbol of each thing, but they don't have an extra ability, and you wouldn't use a WOW card instead because it's your first game. Now, your POW cards you would get rid of by paying the indicated cost at the top, and you have to pay the negative repercussion to it until you are able to get rid of it. For example, Meeple Inc. over here, you cannot have level 4 components, you just cannot make them at all, but once you pay a time, money, and inspiration to get rid of it, you are able to remove this card from play, and then you no longer have that detriment. Something that's great that this does is it now opens up a spot for that player to have another employee. So you can see that they have one here. There'll be a hiring different people throughout the game. When you do so, you'll gain the indicated symbol, so inspiration, money, research, etc. But you will also be able to slot them in to get their required or their indicated icons. Now, once you clear out your POW spot, you can put someone there. You don't get a bonus for putting anyone there, but it does give you a 6th spot to be able to have another employee. You may have noticed that everyone also has their own personal goals. These are public, so everyone does get to know them, but there are public goals for each player that are seen, and they aren't exactly goals that you are working toward, but there are different ways that you're able to score. So certain players are good at making certain types of games in certain ways, and they will all score differently for them. For example, if we look at Asmodeus Games over here, for a level 1 trophy, it would be 11 points for them, and it could be a level 1 box, level 2 mechanisms, and level 2 components. So you can see that that's a different cost from someone over here like at Gmon Games, where for them, a level 1 trophy is only 9 points, and they only need, or actually they need a level 2 box, which is higher, but level 1 mechanism, which is lower, and they still need a level 2 component. So you can see that these boxes, components, and mechanisms are very important. You're using these to actually make your games, that's how you're getting points throughout the game, and that's what you're using your employees to do. But it's not that easy to make a board game, right? So you need different things like play testing and research and inspiration to be able to get these different things like mechanics that come out of it. That's where all of these worker placement spots come in. You're going to be using all of these spots to basically do everything that I said. Up here is where you'll be able to get different employees that are your workers that you're able to place in different areas. There'll be extra meeples for you, but they actually look like their own worker. For example, you have these acrylic standees for the deluxe version, or you have cardboard standees for the basic version. There are also other people that are specialists over here that you're able to hire. This is where you would be publishing your game. And if you notice when you are placing all of these, if you place your worker into a spot that has a symbol, for example, this has inspiration, if you place someone there, you would then be able to take that component. There are also costs, so a second meeple can go in this spot, but they would need to be able to pay 2 playtest tokens, and they would be able to get this worker placement spot, which is actually an extra free action on the board. The free action on the board does not get the extra bonus, and it does not have the negative thing as well that you would have to pay, but it is an extra action for you, so it can be very useful to do so. It did cost you 2 playtest tokens to go there, but then you would be able to acquire these specialists. Now, there are a lot of worker placement spots on the board, and I explained a little bit of the throughway of how you go through them. I'm going to go over a few more, but other than that, I'm going to let you infer what some of them may do, such as exchanging resources for resources. I think you might know exactly what this one does. It's exchanging resources for resources. So, the other things that you would be doing is, over here, there are different goals that you can draw for additional points. So when you draw one of these cards, for example, you need to have 4 inspiration, and if you are not able to get it, you will get negative points. However, if you are able to get this goal, it will score you victory points toward the end of the game. Another place that's really important is where you are getting your boxes from. So this is where you would be placing to get your boxes, and you would be exchanging your number of ideas for boxes. So you would be paying these resources to be able to get a certain level box. However, keep in mind, you can only take the level box that you are able to hold. So if your people combined, your employees at your table, do not have up to a level 4 box symbol on them, you would not be able to take the level 4 box even if you have enough inspiration tokens. You're only able to take 1 box per turn as well when you do this, but that's where your boxes come from. Then you need your components and your mechanisms, and that is what you place here. You have to choose which one that you are doing, but you are able to pay research for components or playtesting for mechanics, which just makes sense. But you'll use these different worker action spots to be able to take that action as well. Now, something that I didn't know is when you do take the different employees from the top row, you do have to play them. So you're just acquiring the card when you get them up in the top row, and down here is where you would be playing that different employee. You would have to be able to have a spot available in your table. You would then play this here to slot in your employee, gain the bonus for gaining them to your table, and whatever additional things that they provide for you. Now down here is where you would place for different items as well. These items you are just purchasing, and they are cheapest at the end of the board. These ones are free, and for everyone after that, you would have to place any type of resource to be able to take it, but you would then gain that benefit. So this one would just be 4 points or 4 money. This one would be a playtest token and 2 research tokens. So they are very valuable, but it does cost you a worker placement spot to be able to do it. On top of that, there are skills that you're able to give your different employees, and you would gain those here. Skills do cost you money, so you can see that this costs $2 at the bottom. You would immediately gain a time token, but you could then add this to any of your employees, and it would give them an additional box level and an additional mechanism level. So that's how you are able to have your employees be able to accomplish more things with less employees faster. That way you can make more and more board games that are just amazing and everybody wants to play them. Now, there are a few other spawns. Like I said, I won't go over everything, but this is gaining research, this is recycling items, this is gaining playtest, so some of them are just gaining these base resources. This item here, this example, would let you upgrade any of the things that you take. So if you're not able to make a level 2 mechanism right away, you can then upgrade it to make a better board game later, which is something that you may need to do and is a different way to use the board and the different items that are given to you. This is where you'll be getting trophies instead. Everything that you build, you are able to get different victory points for, and this is where you'll be acquiring that. Throughout Meeple Inc., you will be racing against the clock, placing all of your different workers, trying to exchange all of your small components for bigger components to make it the best board game possible. I felt that it was particularly fun because you are working on board games, and some of these board games that they made that are the ones that you close all of the components into are quite cheeky and funny. Overall, I felt that this was a game that had a great table presence, and it's something that I would like to try at higher player counts. I wasn't able to try the solo mode, which is something I'm a little interested in as well, because I did have a lot of fun in this world, but hearing that it goes all the way up to 6 players, I'm really interested in trying a much higher player count as well. As a reminder, this project is currently on GameFound, and there is a regular and deluxe version for you as well to check out. Thank you to Cogito Ergo Meeple for sponsoring this video, and thank you all for watching the Board Game Co channel. I've been Professor Meg, and I'll see you all around on the channel. Bye!